Getting towards the end of April, which maybe seems pretty deep into spring for some of you, but here at this latitude, it's very early spring, so leaves are just starting to come. It's still frost season for us. I think it might have been close to freezing last night. It was definitely way below freezing the night before, and means it's time to really do some thinking about gardening. I got a few starts. I've been clearing some trees to get more sun around the garden, and my project today is I'm going to build a log cabin style composter so that I can contain all the compost within kind of a square, and I think there'll be a couple advantages to that. So for one thing, it should keep everything contained, keep animals from digging in it and spreading it around. It'll also make it easier for me to turn it over in place, and it'll keep some of the lighter materials from blowing around in the wind. So it's nice to be able to pile up a bunch of leaves and things, but they'll just blow away if you get a big wind. For example, I always am dumping leaves on the garden for mulch, but never really sure how many of them actually stay and compost in place. Anyway, you can kind of see the rough outline for the garden beds. There's not much going on right now, except that there's a lot of work to do. So let's get started on this composter. So why a log cabin style composter? Well, first off, I've got logs. So we've had a lot of spruce budworm in the last few years, which means a lot of our spruce trees and our balsam trees are dying, and then they just become a fire hazard. They're just like a pile of standing dry kindling. So basically I have no shortage of them, and I like to remove them anyway, just to get some new growth happening. Last year I cut some and I used them to build some tripods. So I had these tripods here with a center ridge pole and a tarp just protecting pontoon boat. So now I'm going to repurpose these logs and cut some new ones. There's really no shortage of this size of tree around, and that's why I cut a few of them in the fall. They've served their purpose. Now I can repurpose them and use them to start laying out this log cabin style compost box. I guess I'll hang on to this rope because I might want to tie some corners so that it doesn't just fall apart on me. But it'll be easy to assemble, easy to disassemble, and then when these things start to rot out, I can use them for garden edging or just burn them. Speaking of burning, got a lot of brush because we've been doing some clearing and removing some deadfall. So lots to burn, and don't always have time to burn in the evenings, which is when you're permitted to burn in my area. No day fires unless they are in a, well, no open air burning. So got this little I don't even know what this is. I think my mom called it an acorn stove. So we're just gonna keep a fire going and just keep burning brush all day while we're working on the log cabin composter. I'm just going to set up here beside my compost pile because I made it before the winter and it's time for it to flip. So if I make an empty composter here, I can just flip it all into the composter and then I should be all set. So kind of reminds me too, I guess I'll cut this one after to length. It is time to do a spring tool freshen up. I need to get some garden forks and some shovels and things, so I'm going to put in a Princess Auto order, get some things delivered right to my door. That's the easiest way to do that, and hopefully I can get everything I need. So probably do a mail call in a couple of weeks, show you what I've picked up. I have also really been wanting to get some engineered fuel. I'm gonna go sharpen up my chainsaw in a minute because we're not gonna bushcraft this, we're just gonna work through it. So I want to sharpen up my chainsaw. And for stuff like that that sits a while, I thought engineered fuel might really be the ticket for storing in my engines over the winter, or as a prepper item. It's got a really long shelf life. I feel like that'd be a good thing to have around. I can't order it and have it delivered though because it's a combustible fuel. I have to pick it up, and I won't be going to my nearest Princess Auto for a few weeks yet, although maybe. Set your watches, turkey season's coming up, so I will be traveling past some Princess Autos, and maybe I should make a fuel order. Anyway, let's have a look at the basics here, and then we're going to make it bigger. So right now it's about 6 by 6. This is going to be a large but shallow composter, and you might want to target more depth and less area. It really depends on the volume of compost that you want to do. So you might want to do like a 4 by 4. I might even shorten this up a little bit, maybe do a 5 by 5, and then maybe 24 inches deep. So I'm going to need to cut a bunch more, which is fine because when you look around, there's dead standing poles all over the place. I even have a few on the ground over there that I can cut to length. And we're going to build this up. So the other trick is that to keep these all from rolling around, I think I might hammer in a couple of stakes on all 4 corners. Obviously not with this flimsy stuff. This is for demonstration purposes only. Hammer in a couple of stakes and then tie the tops with some of that leftover rope that we just had in hand, and then that'll keep these from moving around too much. There'll be good airflow into our compost. That's really key. And we got a little bit of overhanging branches because apparently overhanging branches. It's important to have your compost under a tree because there's really important micronutrients that trickle down off of leaves and things. So this should be a pretty good spot. I also have some, am I here? There I am. I have some spare tin too. I could always do like a partial roof over it if I didn't want it to get too wet from the rain. Okay, so I'm maybe gonna shorten this up by a foot. Maybe there. There. And that should be a good size. Fire lit. This brush isn't going to burn itself, or rather the problem is that it could burn itself, and that's exactly what we don't want to have happen. We don't want to leave piles of dead wood hanging around waiting to get sparked up by a lightning storm. I never really felt like there was a big forest fire risk here before, but just over the past few years with all the insect damage and the dying conifers, it feels like the forest has shifted and is kind of at that point maybe in a natural cycle where it would burn off and be renewed. The only trouble is we got too much infrastructure here, so we have to try and manage our fire risk by having lots of little fires and keeping the bush clean, rather than waiting around and having one big fire, which could be disastrous. So I'm looking forward to ordering some tools because I think you just cannot overestimate the amount of work that you can get done with a few good hand tools. A good spade, a good rake, a good garden fork, but you also cannot overestimate the amount of work that you can get done with a good chainsaw. I know the lighting's not great in here at all, but as long as you know your basic sharpening tricks, your safety, and you have the right tools to maintain your saw, this is probably one of the most productive tools that I use on a regular basis. Whether that's maintaining trails or cutting deadfall and managing the forest, cutting firewood every year, camp wood, clearing around the garden, and I don't know if I've really talked about the acreage here. There are a few hundred acres, so there's never a shortage of dead trees falling over to cut up for firewood and to clear off of your trails, making hunting blinds, tree stands, all that kind of stuff. I think this is my third saw. I think I've blown up 2 saws in my life. This is my third one. And I know some of you are probably really critical of my freehand technique here, but it's basically all I ever do is freehand sharpen. Although there are lots of great file guides or sharpening machines, or a foolproof method, and one that some of my friends use, is to just have a few different chains and get them sharpened professionally, and then when your chain is dull, it's actually faster to put a new chain on than it is to go through and sharpen a whole chain. And you can get them sharpened for I'm going to say it's like less than $10 to get a chain sharpened. So depending on what you're doing, it might be totally worth it to spend 30 bucks and have 3 sharp chains for a year of cutting. For me, it would not make sense because I have to sharpen my chain often enough that it would get prohibitively expensive to have somebody else do it. Okay, chain is sharp. A little bit of grease in here. Or a lot of grease in there. Good. Here's another tip for you. Never use regular gas in your small engines. Always use premium gas. Or, as I was saying earlier, the engineered fuel, which is a fair bit more expensive than buying gas, although it has some, if you buy the premix, it's got the oil in it also, so you're getting a little bit of value added there. But it's engineered fuel, so you know there's no guessing about the ratio of oil to gas, and it's got a very, very long shelf life. In the can, I think it's good for, well, I don't want to make up numbers, but I think it's good for 5 or 10 years in the can, and it's good for like 2 years even after you open the can. So that's very stable. Another pro tip, don't forget to close the gas caps on your chainsaw. The gas cap and the bar oil. Twice this year I've walked off with the saw in hand only to have bar oil leak out everywhere. Okay. Bar oil. Never run your saw without it. Gotta keep it all lubed up. Good. And we're almost ready to saw. Whoa! Hello, camera. Where are you going? Steady now. Here we are. Safety helmet on. Saw in hand. I don't know how much I've talked about my saw before, but I definitely am thinking about getting a smaller saw for most of my day-to-day use. This one I find really heavy when you're limbing and bucking up logs. It's a really good saw for felling big trees, so kind of will do everything, but it's just a little big for most things. I also really want to try an electric chainsaw, and definitely be interested to hear your comments about them if you've had a chance to use them. I feel like for most jobs they're probably really good, especially if you already have a cordless set of tools and you can use that same battery. All right, here we are. Good. That's all it takes. Zip. And now we have another row of logs. Okay, some corner posts. This is a Postpounder. Clearly it is not the tool for the job with these short posts, but These work really great. It's got a solid end of the bazooka, a hollow end of the bazooka, and it's good for pounding T-bars. I'll show you how that works. You definitely need hearing protection for this because it's really noisy. Slides over the top and you just pound it. And don't trip on the tomato cage. So all we're gonna do is, I was too lazy to go walk for a hammer. We're just gonna put some posts in the corners here, like that. Like that. And in the other corners. You hit a rock. Maybe a rock. Anyway, when I tie the tops together, it'll be super sturdy. There's good soft soil there. You can see there's a pile of branches behind me. That is not compostable material. That is stuff that I meant to put through the chipper when I rented the chipper in the fall. Just some things that I didn't get to. That's all going to get burned. Maybe this could be my casting tape for the Alone show. My log cabin. Ouch. My log cabin bushcraft shelter. Ah, it's looking good. Hey, is it a thing of beauty or what? The beautiful thing is actually that you can build one out of anything, depending on the size of composter you want. You can scale it up or scale it down. You know, you could make it a little 2x2 one with little tomato stakes or yard trimmings. I happen to have a forest of trees that need to get cut, so mine's kind of big and I can fill it up and turn it in here, and it's going to help keep it all contained. So I guess the next thing to do is to get a garden fork and start flipping. Oh, and some ropes. We're going to tie these corners. All right, there's a shovel. I remembered part of why I need to put in a tool order, because this is a loose garden fork. It's basically the wood's rotted out inside, so I'm going to drive a couple of hardwood wedges in there to prolong the life. But this is also more than a one fork household, so it's going into the order. Now, I was thinking there's probably a couple different ways to do this, but what I had in mind is if I just make loops that slip over, then it's easy to just lift them off if I want to put more poles on. Or even I could just leave them and put more poles on over top of the tie-off point. But I think that's kind of going to be the way that I roll on this. Take the gloves off. What's going on here? This is some might call this a character flaw, but one of my character traits is that I love reusing old rope. I have a kind of a collection of rope that I've found in old campsites and stuff. It's been left behind, and for whatever reason my weird little brain likes to make sure that it gets reused and repurposed. And this is exactly that kind of rope. Oh, that's the perfect size. Let's do left over right and under, right over left and under. Clove hitch. A loop. Cat's cradle. Oh, really short. There, one. Different angle. Left over right and under, right over left and under. There's another little clove hitch. And I think I lucked out. I think my dad's gonna come and help me dig all this into here. So, go Dad. This is to put all that compost in. You wanna help me dig? Hey? I got a pile of stuff to dig, and I got 2 diggers. You want a fork or a spade? I'm gonna dig that pile right there.
Or higher?
No, I just want to put it all into my little log cabin here, because it all needs to get turned over. Oh, this is old chicken manure. That's what that is. And then those are all wood shavings. And there's a bunch of branch chips under here too. That'd be great. Great, these ones here. Those all need to go in. And the speed bag does not need to go in. Yeah, that's perfect. We can mix wood chips with chicken manure. We'll get some leaves in here too. We'll have a good compost system. that's about the end of it. Cabin composter, off-grid cabin composter. Now I just have to add some dead leaves, maybe some grass clippings, and the chicken coop needs to get emptied again. It's spring, so that's probably going to go in. Maybe add another layer on top, and all done. Cheap, easy, effective, and vital for a garden. See you on the next one.